In tonight's Our Desert Past, General George S. Patton led the troops who liberated Nazi death camps across Europe during World War II. NBC Palm Springs' Steve Sumrall recently spoke with one of the general's descendants who tries to encourage a better future by making sure we never forget the atrocities of the past.
I am here at the Desert Holocaust Memorial in Palm Desert, dedicated to the memory of the 6 million Jews whose lives were lost during this dark period of our history. Recently, I had the pleasure to speak with Helen Ayer Patton, the granddaughter of General George S. Patton, who led the U.S. forces which liberated the death camps. As the curator of her grandfather's legacy, she promotes the lessons of history. During our interview, she spoke of one such lesson which she accidentally learned as a small child. And although it was very disturbing, it did inspire her to, very much like her famous grandfather, fight the good fight.
I was about between 6 and 8, maybe, and I was able to climb into this kind of trunk that had been in the house, and I'd never really paid it much mind. Nobody paid it much mind because they had this sort of heavy velvet cloth over it. But I was always suspicious about what could be inside, and so I waited till everyone left one day, and I got myself a footstool, climbed inside, practically fell in, grabbing, because it was a very deep, high trunk that my grandparents, General Patton and his wife, actually gave each other for their first wedding present. I found pictures inside that my grandfather had personally taken upon viewing Ohrdruf and Buchenwald. And of course, these were incredibly graphic. Everything you've ever read about the worst of the camps and what they found were in these photographs. And when my mother came home, she found me in and amongst a sea of photos sitting there. And she looks at me and said, "What have you found?" And I looked up at her and said, "What happened?" And I just remember from that moment on, I was truly pierced. And I said, okay, this is big, and I've got to get to the bottom of this. I don't say to never forget, because how can we remember what we never experienced? What we can remember is how others experienced what their forebears experienced, what their forebears experienced, and God forbid we never experience the original experience.
Steve Sumrall, NBC Palm Springs, News First.